Houses are typically rented or bought, sometimes constructed. Homes are built. We can find good foundations if we search assertively, as Michelle did. But we must find our home. We must build our homes with the help of our neighbors, colleagues, friends, congregants, etc. Or, in brief, our community. Home is many things: a physical force, a state of mind, usually a sheltering concept, but also a restricting one. There is ironic truth in the words of Robert Frost. Home is the place where, when you have to go there, they have to take you in. Being underemployed for significant periods of my career has helped me remember my stories and forced me to explore my sense of place on several occasions. I agree with Richard Bowles, author of What Color is Your Parachute? When job hunting, one must first figure out where you want to live, then with whom you want to work, and finally, what you want to do. Where we choose to live has profound effects on our lives, but this is only the first step in making a home. We build our homes in multiple aspects: physical place, neighborhood, family, career, avocation, following our passion, and friends. And we continuously adapt to the changes around us. If lucky and aware, we avoid the lives of quiet desperation of which Thoreau wrote more than a century ago. Before the invention of the bow, as in bow and arrow, home meant a community of 50 to 100 humans of various ages in a territory of perhaps 400 square miles. Our families, our colleagues at work, our faith community, neighbors, friends, sports teams, schoolmates were the same people. We had no need to consciously choose individuals or group with whom to associate. Now, we consciously separate our lives, trying to optimize each aspect and often losing sight of our purpose, often forgetting to come home to restore ourselves. Mentally, work and play and recharging should be part of a continuum, not separate, discrete things. When we neglect our primitive need for restoration, we set ourselves up for failure. In this day and age, we are pushing ourselves to extremes. Our children attend one school for academics, another for religious education, another for dance, then off to soccer practice. And we see our extended family only occasionally. We work with colleagues who are not our neighbors. Our friends move in and out of our lives. Our neighbors participate in other faith communities. To cope with our fragmented lives, and we need balance. We need friends, and our friends need us. We recognize the importance of home subconsciously, if not consciously. For example, when relocating a corporate headquarters, CEO give many reasons, politicians others. However, by far the most important factor is where the boss's mother or mother-in-law lives. Home can be restorative or purposeful, but it can also be restrictive, numbing. In fact, for some of us, we cannot have a home until we leave. Until we leave, we are not whole. We cannot find our souls, and therefore cannot build a home anywhere. Paraphrasing the words of John Denver, some of us must come home to a place we've never been before. A central human need is to restore ourselves, to recharge our batteries, which is often done in the relative safety of home. But other human needs are to explore our surroundings, to find our limitations, to contribute to the common good. We must explore our surroundings to feel secure within them. Building walls alone will not keep the outside out. Building walls alone will not keep the outside out. As we explore, then come back home, we come home more deeply. If we never go outside our comfort zone, the grass always appears greener elsewhere, and we are at least vaguely dissatisfied until it is too late to leave. Many things are not appreciated while we are near them. Joni Mitchell, we don't know what we got till it's gone. If we never leave home, we may never truly appreciate it. Irishman George Moore wrote, "A man travels the world over in search of what he needs and returns home to find it." Had he stayed, he would not have recognized what he needed, what he valued, what he had to be grateful for. At some point, most young human adults have to leave to find their own place in the world. This is part of a natural process to be acknowledged and celebrated. We lose children to college or adult life, or to their first automobile. And with that, we lose the parents of their friends. We lose a piece of home. But children come back, often towing grandchildren with them, and home becomes a richer place. In my college years, I left home physically, later religiously and mentally, due mostly to religious differences. I became uncomfortable coming home for about 6 years. During much of this time, with neither dependents nor a mortgage, I traveled starting industrial incinerators for a living. My emotional energy was more on the incinerators and my coworkers than on my family. So where was home? Home was legally Michigan, practically a hotel room, mentally the job sites. I was not yet at a point where home meant a family, a community, a specific place. 2 long summers of that period were spent exploring the Rockies and Pacific Northwest with an earth science teacher. Home was a 5 by 8 foot tent or a Chevy Suburban. In my mind, home was especially the Suburban when I was several days' walk from it. I still feel a sense of coming home when I look at the sky on a moonless night, or when I look at a picture of Earth as a blue marble floating in space. In 1977, when I returned to Michigan, I was not yet home. Only after my sister gave me the opportunity to help her raise her children did I become rooted in Detroit as home. You can see why the parable of the prodigal son is my favorite. Of course, life turned the tables on me. My wife Lee and I have been waiting for our nephew to come home since we came to Livingston County 30 years ago. College, the Army, law school, and a career and a specialty have kept him away from us and kept home incomplete. Only one of my 5 siblings still lives in the Detroit area. The rest are scattered around the country along with the majority of my cousins. Phone calls and the internet are not enough, although weekly Zoom conversations help. One of the side effects of COVID, a good side effect. Even though we are privileged to still have enough of the family close enough to fill our Thanksgiving tables, not having the rest nearby leaves a hole. 20 years ago, the tables almost turned again when I was underemployed. We were considering moving to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where Lee had a standing job offer. Jobs in my field seemed abundant in North Carolina's research triangle. Lee's favorite boss and her former lab mate had taken positions at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. So going to North Carolina would, in 2 senses, have been coming home for Lee, and possibly a short vacation to me. It is said that on vacation, we can be who we wish to be rather than who we have to be. And we should put as much effort into our avocations as we put into our vocations. But oftentimes, we take the path of least resistance. We use our vacations to get away from life rather than to follow our avocation. We cram 8 weeks of touring into 2 weeks of a road trip, leaving no room to actually be anywhere. And then we come back from vacation only to sense a need for another vacation. Because in fact, we never mentally left. We took our work and troubles with us. We need to take a long enough period off so that our coworkers will handle problems rather than let them pile up on our desk. Long enough for us to generate a sense of urgency to clean up our projects before we leave, so that we can leave the work phone and laptop computer at home rather than throw them in the lake. As our if our present employer does not appreciate this need, we need to find an employer who does. For many, being homeward bound is the most regenerative part of the trip because we have simplified our mindset to the task of getting home. When motoring, the journey out has numerous stops along the way, but the journey home is nonstop, traveling through the night. Our joy peaks during the anticipation of arriving home. But shortly after welcoming hugs, if anyone is there to greet us, yet on waking from a sound sleep in our own bed, melancholy sets in. Reality cannot match our imagination. Coming home has many forms. Physically, the daily return from school or work, returning bleary-eyed from vacation. Seasonally, coming home from summer after the freshman year at college. Conversely, returning to college for senior year. My most vivid memory of homecoming occurred 3,000 miles from Detroit and Budapest. In 1999, the dark ages before everyone had cell phones, as our nephew was completing his tour of duty with the Army, my wife Lee and I ate our way through Europe for a month. Every weekend we stayed with either my nephew or Lee's colleague in Poland. It was nice to have a NATO officer who spoke perfect English as our tour guide, but it would have been helpful if he learned how to say more than eine Bier bitte in 5 languages. Anyway, I say we forgot. Lee says we neglected, as in we neglected to have our Eastern European Europass authorized before boarding the train in Poland. And remember, this is shortly after the Iron Curtain has come down. After the conductor threatened to kick us off in Bratislava, and you're thinking what we're thinking, well, where's Bratislava? So we used our last American currency, no credit cards accepted, to buy tickets through Slovakia. Then we used our last Polish and miscellaneous other currency to bribe the conductor in Hungary. And then we, meaning I, decided to get off at the first train station in Budapest at 2 in the morning because it was closer to the hotel than the main train station where we could have gotten a cab. Wrong choice. No one spoke English. Lee's French was useless. And ich spreche Wiener Deutsch, nicht sehr well. And German was at the time their second language, but no one spoke German either. No ATMs, therefore no cash. So we pantomimed for a local map and walked to our hotel in the middle of the night. But when we arrived at our hotel, our nephew was waiting for us, and we were home, just home for several minutes. As the proverb says, home is where the heart is. To restore ourselves, we must also come home mentally at regular intervals. It is easy to come home when sitting in a favorite chair with a favorite beverage and loved ones in close proximity. But modern life does not always afford us that opportunity. Excuse me. We each must find centering techniques that work for us at any particular time. For me, living in a walkable neighborly community and having responsibilities within that community and CUUB usually keeps me centered. I see neighbors enjoying a rails to trails path that I helped develop. I watch my lily pads grow, signaling clean water from a sewer project. I slow for a 25-mile-an-hour sign that I helped justify. I see the results of communal effort. 10 years ago, we at CUUB built a house of worship from an office building, but we have been building a home for much longer. Each Sunday, we gather and share an assortment of recent unions, separations, and various miracles as kith and kin come and go. I do not know what our home will look like in the years to come, but I do know that each new member will add to the adventure. Each Sunday, we continue to have a sense of coming home as we share more of our lives. This home comes with many rooms, several large ones where everyone is welcome, but also many nooks and crannies where entry is by invitation only. We make mistakes as we learn to work together more effectively. We stumble and we soar. We become more than the sum of our individual selves. We endure and prosper. We become ever more a transforming spiritual presence, saving lives. Amen, Ashe, blessed be.